vínculo que une todas las cosas en perfección, de manera perfecta, el amor de Dios, que es lo que realmente nos debe interesar compartir unos con otros, más allá de muchas cosas que de pronto no son tan importantes y nos quitan algo de nuestro tiempo. Hi to everyone over there who's watching us through Ustream. My name is William Caicedo, and I say hi from Cartagena, Colombia. This is the perfect bond. This is a place where we want to share, we want to talk about what really matters. That would be the love of God. We waste a lot of our times debating things that actually are not that important. But the really important thing, the one thing that really matters, is the way God loves us, and so that's why we wanted to share with you these moments, speak about what really matters and how we can ascertain that love, how we can relate to that love, and how that love can change our lives. Thanks once again to all the people in the New Covenant group, especially Dr. Michael Jones and his wife Rhonda Jones. Thank you to our executive producer Joy Livingston, to Matt Scrap Iron Matt Rose, which is I'm told he's sick. So wherever you are, Matt, I just wish you to get well soon. And also to Rick, thank you very much for being there and make this possible. Today, we're going to talk about a little bit about the evil in this world, about how that doesn't make any sense at all. A lot of time, and this is something. The message for today is something that we shared weeks ago in Spanish. We wanted to have this in English today in order to share it with all of you. This was written and aired here on the Perfect Bond when the Newton, Connecticut massacre happened. Um, it was a heinous thing, really awful thing that happened there, and it uh, made me reflect a little bit about the nature of evil and how evil can or cannot be reconciled with the idea of a powerful, loving creator, an all-powerful, loving creator, which is the main tenet of classical theism. This led me to reflect about this, and well, one thing I'm sure is that there are no, in this regard, there are no simple answers to these questions, because questions are really hard. How many things happen in our world without apparent reason? Tragedies without an explanation. And in these tragedies, evil seems to walk undefeated over the face of the earth. So what can I say about that as a believer? What can you say about that as a believer? Why God allows these things to happen? And this is probably the most difficult question of them all regarding this evil thing. Why God allows these things to happen? If He is this loving God, this powerful God, this God that really loves us and wants to have a relationship with us, then why He just stand on the side and let these things happen? And especially the Newtown massacre, the things get a lot more disturbing. Things get really disturbing because these acts of evil were committed against the most innocent. In this case, kids in a primary school were massacred. Also, some of their teachers, but most of the victims were little kids. So, how is it possible that these little innocent kids, they did not hurt anyone? They were um, someone's sons, someone's daughters, someone's family. They were so full of energy, of innocence. So how is it possible that they were defected, they were affected by this irrational evil, this nonsense, this unspeakable acts of evil? Maybe one could think that there are others that deserve this kind of evil because of what they have done. You could think that, but kids, why kids? And why did not God intervene to stop the attacker, for example? Why God allow him to do that? Why God didn't save them? Why God didn't do this, or didn't do that? Why? Why this had to happen? These are the kinds of questions that flood our minds after tragedies like this one, like that one. And the thing is that because of the world we live in, these questions are not really new. In fact, the problem of evil has been something that have become uh, an important obstacle in the spiritual path of so many people. It has been one of the reasons that atheists give you when you ask them why did you don't believe in a God. Because the thing is that these people cannot reconcile the idea of a loving God creator, worthy of worship, worthy of being searched for, being seek, and the existence of evil in this world. It's difficult to reconcile these things. The thing with this evil is that evil that doesn't seem to respect age, sex, religion, whether you're a good person or not, whether you're a Christian or you're not a Christian, whether you're a believer, whether you're an atheist or not. There doesn't seem to be a statistical difference. Everyone seems to be affected by this evil. So that's why some people say that God doesn't exist because He doesn't protect the people that worship Him. I mean, so it is quite difficult to have an answer for this. It's quite difficult to reach an answer that gives us peace. And we keep on living this world, and for this evil that is into this world, there doesn't seem to be any available defense for us, and defense that would protect us 100% of the times against it. That makes it a little bit more difficult to all of us. It's not an easy question. There are no easy answers for it. But usually we hear that nothing really happens in the world without it being caused by God. His sovereignty predetermines everything that comes to pass, and that is not as good as it sounds, because there are some conclusions one could reach about it. For example, even if that's true that the God predetermines and everything that comes to pass, and everything that comes to pass is His will, Um, then these despicable acts of evil, this irrational evil, is also his will. Was also predetermined. The mind of this guy that killed all these little kids was predetermined by God to do what he did. So God would be the author of evil in a mediate way. That doesn't sound that good, right? Because then we, at least me, I couldn't reconcile the idea of loving God with a God that causes evil to happen. Also, if everything had been predetermined by God, then we are not no more than puppets in the hands of the master puppeteer. It'd be like God is causing us to do whatever we do. So when we talk back to God, when we try to have a meaningful relationship with Him, a relationship of any kind with Him, that would be no more than God talking to Himself. It's the puppet talking back to the puppeteer. So there is no really meaningful relationship there. If that's so, then would our love, the love we say we feel for God, would that be real? The love we say we feel for other people, would that be real? If that's caused by God, if everything is predetermined, if hard determinism is right, then nothing that we do, nothing that we don't do, is actually ours. It's just that something that was put there by God in the first place. So it doesn't sound that good after all. But then we get to the famous free will, right? There seems to be two sides of it, two camps that battle each other. One side says we are completely predetermined, and there's this other side that says we have free will, right? And the free will side, what they mean, or what I think they mean with free will, is the capacity to take decisions in a free manner, with no dependence whatsoever on pre-existing conditions. In this way, free will becomes counter-causal, or in cost, not cost. Counter-causal free will sometimes is defined like that. But under this definition, I think that it's very clear that there is no such thing as free will. Because our wills are not free from the interference that comes from the environment. We could easily verify how the environment in which a kid is raised into. Also, the genetic information transmitted by his parents, by their parents, and other external factors influence the kind of decisions that this kid will make when he's older. Hence, the environment is influencing in some way or another the will of this kid. So it's very, very clear that this counter-causal free will does not exist. You can see it every day. In a country like mine, I can see it every day. I can see the way my kids behave. I can see the way I behave as a kid. and I can see the way that other kids that haven't had the same opportunities than me behave. I can see it every day because this is a poor country, and no, this is not a poor country. This is a very unequal country. That's a different thing. This is a very unequal country, unequal country, and you see all kinds of extremes here, and you can see it. For example, the kids that which whose families were able to give in proper education. You don't see them, for example, mugging people on the streets. They probably do their share of bad things, but mugging people on the streets with a gun or with a knife is not one of them. The way they talk, when kids have been abused, the way they talk, the way they cannot have some sort of relationship with adults from that moment on. The scars that are into their souls, their personalities after being abused from since little kids. That's a pretty clear. Those are pretty clear ways that in which the environment and the people around them can affect their personalities, and hence they're affecting their wills. So they're not really free from the environment. However, if we reason starting if our reasoning starts from the fact that God seems to want to have meaningful relationships with us, we could arrive to the conclusion that despite our biological contingents, we have limited capability to make decisions in a relatively free way, and that this capability can grow just as we grow spiritually. And I'm going to spend a little bit of time in that point. If someone hits me in the face, punches me in the face, punches me in the face, my instinct, my animal instinct, would tell me, or would cause me to punch him back, to retaliate. Maybe retaliate in a way that is quite stronger than the punch itself, that I was the way I was punched. Certainly that's into my genes. As an animal, I have this animal body that is no different from the bodies of other animals. We share DNA, our cells are the same type, we share a lot of traits, physical traits. So these impulses are built in on me. That's the way my race have survived in a survival of the fittest environment. Those impulses of this instance of auto-conservation or survival that lead me to retaliate are present in me and are very powerful within me. If I don't try to cultivate, if I don't try to raise a spiritual nature within me, if I'm removed from spirituality, some sort of spirituality, then it is more likely that I'm going to respond this punch in the face. But as I grow spiritually, and spiritually is not something untangible or something that is like mysterious all the time, or something that you should have to understand as a mystic thing. It's rationality too, because if I am rational, um, then I could reason about the causes or the things that cause these people to punch me in the face. And I could see that punching back is probably not the best thing to do. Spiritually, I could reason. I could ask myself, if I'd punch someone in the face, what would I want that people to do to me? Or would I want to be benefit with the benefit of the doubt? So, as I grow spiritually, there are more chances that I won't retaliate back. And into Christian ethics, the ethic of reciprocity is, or the love your enemies thing, is what would cause me not to retaliate, because these are spiritual things that are not animal things. These things are part of a spiritual nature that is very removed from my animal instance of aggression and that kind of stuff. So we could get to the point where we realize that we actually have a maybe limited capability to be free from the environment. But it's a limited capability because we live in this body, and the power this body exerts on our wills is quite substantial. But nevertheless, we do have this capability, or we could reason that we have it. We can conclude that we have that capability to be free from the environment, even in a limited fashion, as we are more spiritual. On the other hand, our scientific findings seem to support the idea that randomness is built into the very fabric of our universe. At a subatomic scale, processes are guided by not deterministic laws, but probabilistic laws. And scientists have shown that there seems to be a basic inability to determine related properties of subatomic particles, for example, position and momentum, under a certain threshold of confidence. It seems like our capability to our capacity to resolve this attributes is limited. There's a hard limited nature, and this is what scientists call the physicists call the uncertainty principle. And also, our findings point to the fact that at subatomic scale, several different possible realities coexist and in a sort of superposition, quantum superposition, until a direct observation is made. And this observation preconditions the observed result. It's like all these possible realities are there just waiting for someone to watch, to take a look, to take a peek on it, and then this superposition collapses to only one of the possible realities, and that's what we measure when we make an observation on it. That seems to be a basic characteristic of the universe. On a macro scale, processes are guided by more deterministic laws. But in a micro scale, this determinism seems to vanish away. We are left with things that can be described in terms of probabilities, but we cannot have the confidence that we have when we are measuring macro phenomena. And if really the universe is supports this kind of randomness on its very fabric, on a very fundamental level, if we think of the universe as this contingent entity with some degree of randomness attached to it, that could allow us to reconcile our God of love with all of this inexplicable evil acts, or this could allow us to believe that actually we can have a meaningful relationship with God, and this capability of being free from our environments in a relatively substantial way is actually true. If the universe has this set of laws, and it is this machinery that works for itself, then the place that God would have is, for example, God set things in motion. The stars ignites the universe, and this thing that He created, these laws that He put in place, for example, at the micro level, are inherently stochastic. So this universe starts to evolve, and at the macro scale, this evolution is somewhat predictable. But the micro scales, the micro details of this evolution are inevitably stochastic because of the laws that guide them. So it's possible that in a macro level, things can be planned out, but the details of this plan are maybe won't work as expected. That would allow rational agents inside the universe to be relatively responsible of their own volition and growth, because this randomness would give them the capability of being free from environments and responsible of their own actions. It could be held accountable for what they do or for what they don't do. But if that's so, what do we do with this tenet of classical theism called omniscience, or that God is all-knowing? Well, that one is hard to answer. However, we could say this: if you, as an observer, know all possibilities in a given time, and you also know the respective probabilities of all those possibilities, then one can say that you actually know it all. One could say that you know it all because you know all possible things that could happen in a given moment, and you know exactly the probabilities attached to all of that possibilities. And even we can, humans can use, for example, a probability to reason, to give machines the ability to reason in uncertain environments. Our brains seem to be Bayesian in a sense. We seem to have an built-in ability to update likelihoods of things in a very similar way to what we call the Bayes theorem, which is a way to calculate the likelihoods and how the likelihoods of certain events can change when you receive additional evidence of it. So if that's the situation, if, for example, God knows every possible thing that can happen on its respective probabilities, then we can say that God knows it all. And also, if this God has all the necessary means in order to plan for courses of action inside an ever-changing and contingent system, your capability of this God of acting and predicting results and outcomes is preserved. This view, this particular view of of this relationship between God and the universe is called open theism. God is not all knowing in the classical sense, but God knows His all because He knows everything that can happen with its respective probability. The thing with open theism is that makes me feel a little bit away from God, or makes me feel Him away from me. I have this phrase. My God is the God of the mechanisms, because I've been reasoning, I've been pondering these things from a while now. What is the relationship between God and the things that come to pass? Is God like pushing buttons, and the things that happen are because He pushed the right buttons, or is God the God that puts a mechanism in place and He starts the mechanism, and things then have their own dynamics that where these dynamics are inside the frame that was preset by God, but the dynamics itself are not caused immediately by God. But in this, if God is the God of the mechanisms, then one can say that God is removed from me. That's the thing with open theism and the God of the mechanisms. Because He set this machinery in motion, but after that, it's like the God of theism, the watchmaker, when the universe, where the universe is a watch that has a life of the movement that have movements of its own, and he like step back from it. But Jesus tells us that even the hairs on our head are numbered. So, what do I say about this? Probably we are sentenced to live in that antinomy while we are in these bones. That's one of those questions that probably God is going to answer us when we abandon this body. Things to ponder. But in the meantime, we keep asking, why? Why all this evil nonsense, even against children? Why kids die every day because of hunger? Why kids die every day murdered? Why kids die every day because of natural disasters and accidents? Why? Maybe God is surprised. Maybe God saw this was going to happen, but He decides not to act because the responsibility must be human. Maybe we need to reap what we sow. Maybe it's up to us. Maybe we have to make our own mistakes in order to grow from them. Or is it's just that the universe is inherently random? I don't know. And maybe that's an answer that I won't have. But what I do know is that in those darkest moments, the dimmest light looks like a sun. When strength is null and helplessness is total, there is something that appears inside the heart of people. That is the moment when Christ reveals Himself. No matter if you're a believer, no matter if you're a Christian, No matter if you're Muslim, no matter if you're a Buddhist, no matter what. There's something that happens inside of people in these moments. When evil appears, someone, somebody, inside someone's heart, something happens. Something reveals. And I say, it's Christ. It's Christ. The power of love and the supreme calling to give oneself to others. The presence of Christ himself in the hearts of heroes emerge, giving them strength, the strength they need to go to the ultimate sacrifice that sometimes is give their life for others. Review every tragedy that happened in this world, and you will find someone that did something amazing. Maybe 100 died, but because of this amazing person, one was saved. That seems to be a constant. Because just as I said, in these darkest moments, the demon's light looks like a sun. And there are some explanations that people gives in order to justify altruism. One of those is gene selection. It's evolution awarded, or genetic pressure awarded the creatures that cared for their families or cared for their own. And that's why these traits are more present now in our race, and that explain why altruism exists. But I'm not buying it, and not because I'm a denier, because I'm not a scientific denier. I'm a scientist, but because there's this observation. Why, if altruism is an evolutionary product, altruism doesn't make me feel good all of the time? It is relatively simple to care for my own. That is evolutionary. I'm caring for my own gene pool. But caring for those I don't know, caring for my enemies, as Jesus said, that's not evolutionary. That doesn't feel good. Taking the food from my mouth in order to feed someone I don't know, someone who's not related, someone that maybe is in that hole because of their own choices, that's not the same. That's true love. And true love seems to be something entirely different. Not a product of genetic pressure. Not a product of selection pressure. But something with a very different nature. That's real love. That's why Jesus said it's really not difficult to care for your own, because even the bad guys care for each other. The real difficult thing, is to care for those that hurt you. Because that is not in your animal nature, that's part of your spiritual nature, which is different and comes from my Father. But this is what happens in these moments, these dark moments. Because your average Joe turns into a hero. And I say Christ is present on all people, regardless of religion or any other stuff. And that is God manifesting in the possibly the only way he manifests in this world, which is through human beings. The reports of what happened in Newtown, Connecticut say that the principal and the psychologists of the school run into the attacker and sacrificed their own lives protecting children, giving the others precious seconds and moments to escape. Also, reports say that a word ran through the halls of the school, warning everyone of the danger, putting his life in danger on the process. Also, an employee from the library hid 18 children until police arrived, giving them books and crayons to keep them calm. After this massacre, the father of a murdered girl referred to the family to the attackers, saying, "I can imagine how hard this experience must be for you." Think about it. Your girl was just murdered, and you have kind words for the family of the one that murdered your little girl. Think about it. Just think about it. A teacher named Victoria Lee Soto hid her students in a closet. And when the attacker got inside the classroom, she told him that she'd send them to the gym. The attacker, what did he do? He killed her. But she saved her students this way. What has to be in your heart to do such a thing? Maybe if it's kids, it's a little bit easier because we all care for kids, and that seemed to be an evolutionary trait, an adaptive trait. But when people have done these kind of things for other persons that they don't even know, what has to be in your heart in order to do such a thing? And this Victoria saved her students. And maybe this is not the answer we're looking for today. Why evil things happen. But what we do know now is that the truth is that in this particular difficult moments, heroes emerge and become symbols of that love that Jesus spoke about. Because Victoria is a symbol now. Because the principal of the school is a symbol now. Because the psychologist is a symbol now. And it's a symbol I will remember. And the symbols that emerge from the tragedies in my country, I will remember them. And they will inspire me to try a little bit harder in order to show love for others. And maybe, that's what God wants. And what kind of love Jesus spoke about? Greater love has no one than this, to lay down one's life for one's friends. That's John 15:13. But Jesus went even a little bit further than that, because he laid his life for his enemies, or for those that regard him as their enemy. Maybe that's the lesson that God wants us to understand when he made a decision of creating this universe. Okay, let me see. There are a lot of comments here, and that's great. One comment says, if God did create evil for a purpose, it amplifies the need for love, keeps no record of wrongs. Exactly that. It's like we were in a boot camp, and we have one thing to learn, and that is loving others. Maybe. And this boot camp is quite hard, but as a boot camp, it probably accomplished the purposes he has for us. Another comment says, I have many things to tell you, but you cannot bear them now. Yeah, mine's just are not enough to in order to understand some things, and maybe that's how it's done. Steve Miller said we got to go through hell before we get to heaven. Maybe because that way we really appreciate when we are in heaven. The moment that you start to appreciate the food you're eating is when you know how it feels not having food to eat. That's true. Some other viewer says my brain is beginning to smoke, and I say, welcome, welcome to the party. Another viewer comment says, so God is just playing the odds. I don't think so, because, for example, God has showed me his love. I felt his love, and I feel that that kind of love is not compatible with just someone just throwing it at the ices. One comment says, we are divided until someone shoots our kids around planes into our buildings, then we become one. Maybe these are the kind of lessons that you cannot understand any other way. Maybe that's the only possible way to do things. Maybe. Another comment says, your point may have just solved the question of evil. Which one? This is a particularly difficult thing, and maybe we won't get the answer, but if we keep trying, we can be better persons, and that's probably what God intended. Make us better persons in this crazy world. Thank you for being with us once more. This is The Perfect Bond, the place where we discuss the most important things of them all, which is the love of God. And this especially was a difficult thing to think about, the evil. But I'm convinced when we examine the evidence and we think about these things and we talk about these things, good things happen in our hearts because we maybe get a little bit closer of what God wants from us. I say hi again and goodbye from Colombia. May God bless you, and may the peace and the love of the Father be always with you, my beloved brethren. Bye-bye. See you next time.